Atmanirbhar Bharat translates to self-reliant India and popularized in relation to economic development in the country during and after the COVID-19 pandemic. In this context, the term is used as an umbrella concept in relation to making India a bigger and more important part of the global economy, pursuing policies that are efficient, competitive, and resilient, and being self sustaining and self generating. In the upcoming panel discussion, our experts will discuss the mission Atmanirbhar Bharat, enhancing India's indigenous capabilities. I would like to invite T. Radhakrishna, editor, South ET Government, to moderate this panel discussion.
Dear viewers and ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of ET Government, I welcome our guest panelists. Dear guests, it is indeed a great pleasure to meet you and have you in today's panel discussion, Mission Atmanirbhar Bharat, enhancing India's indigenous capabilities in defense, space, and atomic energy. I am joined by eminent administrators, patriotic champions, Mr. Sanjay Jaju, Additional Secretary, Department of Defense Production, Ministry of Defense, Government of India, who is our chairman of panel discussion today. Mr. Sanjay Chawla, Director General, Directorate General of Aeronautical Quality Assurance, Ministry of Defense. Mr. M.V. Rashekar, Chairman and Managing Director, BEML Limited. Rear Admiral Sanjay Chaube, retired, Chairman and Managing Director, Electronics Corporation of India Limited. Mr. Commodore Siddharth Mishra, retired, Chairman and Managing Director, Bharat Dynamics Limited. Mr. Chetan Prakash Jain, Chairman and Managing Director, Central Electronics Limited under Ministry of Science and Technology. Dr. G. Narayanan, Chairman and Managing Director of New Space India Limited under Department of Space. Major General Rajan Kochar, retired, Army Ordnance Corps, Central Command, Indian Army, Government of India. And finally, Mr. Kamal Arora, Senior Director Sales, Government, Dell Technologies. Gentlemen, please welcome to panel discussion. Dear Chairman, Mr. Sanjay Jaju, your initial remarks on Mission Atmanirbhar Bharat for India in the current scenario. Can you please, sir?
As part of the Atmanirbhar campaign that was started last year, defense was also one of the important verticals, and multiple announcements were made. As part of those announcements, relaxation in the foreign direct investment limits. Now we have automatic route available up to 74% for foreign direct investment in defense sector. And besides this, there are multiple announcements made in terms of corporatizing the ordnance factories. The process is currently on. Accent on indigenization of spares. At the same time, the reforms in the trials and the testing procedures. I'd like to tell you that after this announcement was made over the last 1 year, multiple steps have been taken, and one of the most important ones have been the promulgation of what was originally called as the negative list under defense, but now we're calling it as the positive list for indigenization. It lists out items, equipment, platforms, which are now going to be procured from domestic sources only. 101 items were announced last year, and we're expecting the second list of the positive list for indigenization to come out very shortly. Now, all these steps have actually contributed to building a defense manufacturing ecosystem in the country. And now there is a realization that a military industrial complex and creation of a military industrial complex is an imperative when it comes to bolstering the strategic capabilities of the country. It's not the arms and equipment that you hold in your arsenal that are of great value. What is of great value is a military industrial complex behind the military systems of any country. And I think that is the attempt that is being made. Shortly, we are also going to be coming up with a defense production and export promotion policy. And this policy actually lists out multiple strategies. A part of it has already been placed in public domain. Comments have been received. And I think multiple strategies which are outlined in this policy under 8 broad pillars would further bolster the creation of the defense military industrial complex within our country. So it's going to be a combination of efforts to come in both from the public sector as well as the private sector.
Yes.
And the idea is to create capabilities within the country.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And once again, welcome to the panel discussion. Mr. Sanjay Chawla, Director General, welcome to the panel discussion. Can I have your initial remarks on Atmanirbhar Bharat mission, please?
Very good afternoon too. At the outset, I congratulate ET government for organizing this seminar on this critical event and giving us the opportunity. Under Atmanirbhar Bharat, Make in India, a number of initiatives, we as a regulatory body for defense aviation, which is working under the guidance of DDP, MOD, we have taken, and a number of initiatives in the recent past we have taken. One of the major things has been during the Aero India, our Honorable Raksha Mantri has released the DDP Mass 21 document, which is Design, Development, Production and Manufacture of Airborne Stores, which is a guiding document defining the role, responsibilities and way forward for all the stakeholders in the military aviation. One major initiative which we have taken, and this is allowing the industry to develop ab initio development of airborne stores. In general, you may see that the development and certification cycle for airborne stores takes at least a year's time. Without firm orders, now we are permitting industry to develop the stores without any firm orders from the services, and those items will be test evaluated and certified so that we save the time which takes in the development cycle, and that items can be given certified as fit for military use, and they can also be looked for export of these items.
Okay.
These are some of the initiatives we have taken, and we are functioning as an independent third-party inspection agency in line with the global standards, independent from the user as well as producer.
Thank you, Mr. Sanjay Chawla for your initial remarks. Over to Mr. M.V. Rajshekhar, Chairman and Main Director, BEML Limited. Sir, welcome to the panel discussion. Your initial remarks on Mission Atmanirbhar Bharat for your organization, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. I look in the form of opportunities. See, we have 9 DPSUs, 39 ordnance factories, and more than 150 private sector of companies are there in India contributing to the defense, the armed forces. However, still only 35 to 40% is made in India. 60 to 65% still is being imported. See, that's why it excites our R&D engineers, and this tool we are using to excite our people, and with all that 101 negative list, and then now anything if you want to import more than 200 crores, we have to take the approval of ministry. So that's another constraint to import anything. So therefore, this all things will trigger definitely the Atmanirbhar mission. It will trigger, and definitely there will be a big surge in indigenization of the many major components. Thank you,
Mr. M.V. Rajshekhar. Over to Rear Admiral Sanjay Chaubey, Chairman and Managing Director of ECIL. Sir, welcome to the panel discussion. Can I have quickly your initial remarks on the Mission Atmanirbhar Bharat? I know that your ECIL Foundation itself self-reliant, but however, in current context, if you can share.
Let me just say at the outset that Electronics Corporation is part of the Department of Atomic Energy, and since its inception, primarily because there was technology denial, the purpose of ECIL was to have Atmanirbhar Bharat from 1960s. Today, the control and instrumentation of all the nuclear power plants is 100% indigenous. So that is the model that we have taken forward. And as we grew with time, we made forays into the aerospace and the defense. And a lot of systems that today are serving the armed forces have come from ECIL. But like CMD BEML has just mentioned, it has to be a combined effort. It has to be in the form of an ecosystem. Individually, we may not be able to do, because I may have the strength of having the manufacturing facility or the testing facility. But to get the know-how and know-why of the technologies that are involved, especially in the armed forces, we have to join hands. I think that is the single most important thing. It has to be an ecosystem which will have to work together to give us Atmanirbharta in defense. So that's what I want to say in the opening remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Over to Commodore Siddharth Mishra, retired Chairman Manager of Bharat Dynamics Limited. Sir, your initial remarks quickly, briefly, please.
Actually, if you see, Bharat Dynamics Limited is the core company which makes all the types of missiles, be it anti-tank guided missiles, surface-to-air missiles, strategic missiles. And our philosophy of creating this PSU was for Atmanirbharta. So this is at our core of our business itself. And by introducing, as Mr. Jaju in his initial remarks said, that the new policies which has been created by Government of India, the ecosystem which are being brought in, the policy frameworks which has been created is for new technologies which can be created. And we have to ensure that we become more dependent on our local industry, local technology, rather than importing various weapon systems from abroad. The new policy which has come on the front of FDI. Now, with new FDI coming, there are a lot of foreign industries are very keen to work with us and give new technologies. Though getting new technologies from abroad will never be good for our country, it is very essential that we work along with R&D of our own company, as well as the R&D institutions. We as a company, we work with DRDO mostly. So we have decided in last 3-4 years, we have put in a lot of resources along with DRDO for development of futuristic weapon systems.
Thank you, Mishra ji. Over to Mr. Chetan Prakash Jain, Chairman and Director, Central Electronics. Sir, congratulations for your new assignment as additional charge. Welcome to the panel discussion. Your initial remarks, please.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me on this panel, and a very good evening to all the esteemed panelists. Central Electronics Limited is a Government of India's PSU under Department of Scientific and Industrial Research under Ministry of Science and Technology. The very formation of this PSU was to develop indigenous technologies with the help of government labs, mainly CSIR labs, DRDO labs, ISRO, etc., and manufacture products that make the country self-sufficient or Atmanirbhar. CSIR, as you know, that is India's premier research institute, and with its network of almost 38 national laboratories in almost every field of research, gives us a very wide latitude for us in Central Electronics Limited to grow and capture fields. And in collaboration with various other PSUs like BEL, BDL, and then organizations like DRDO, ISRO, and BARC, etc., we have developed a memorandum of understanding, or TOTs, etc., which gives us a huge leverage in terms of developing indigenous technology, which has resulted in heavy reduction in import bills and also has a future for export.
Thank you, Mr. Chetan Prakash Jain. Over to Dr. G. Narayanan, Chairman and Director of New Space India Limited. Sir, welcome to the panel discussion. You are a new baby in Department of Space, but still you are making a lot of money. And can you briefly on Atmanirbharta from your organization, please?
Good day to all. As you all know, I don't have to stress on the strengths of the space sector in the country. We had been always guided by the principles of Atmanirbharta. And today, the mandate on us is to increase the reach of what is already there. And we are into that. And as you said, we are a baby among all these huge players in the defense and atomic energy sector. Nevertheless, we are playing our role, and I will elaborate further in the coming
Wonderful. Thank you. Wonderful, sir. Over to Major General Rajan Kochhar. Welcome to the panel discussion. Your initial remarks on Atmanirbhar Bharat, please.
Thank you, Mr. Radhakishan. It's a pleasure to be part of this panel discussion. What I understand Atmanirbharta is, it is not that I will do everything. It is, we will do everything. And it's a inclusive concept and not an exclusive concept. So once we understand that, it will be easier to move ahead and achieve self-reliance. The challenges which I see the PSUs are going to face today is the management of infrastructure, management of their workforce, upgradation of their processes, and adoption of high-end technology. Many of you have spoken about technology. We are right now, when we talk of transfer of technology, we are only talking the transfer of processes. No country gives you the technology in toto. So the ultimate lesson here today is that we have to develop our own technology. And for that, we have to join hands with the private sector. The public sector and the private sector have to do hand-holding. They are not competitors. They are actually collaborators. And once we understand that, the process of Atmanirbharta will become much easier to achieve. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Major General. Mr. Kamal, over to you. Can I have your initial remarks on Mission Atmanirbhar Bharat?
Sure, Mr. Radhakrishnan. Thank you so much, and good evening, everyone. I'm privileged to be on this panel discussing about that. I think Sanjay, as you mentioned about it, it was music to my ear when Major General Kochhar was talking about that we should achieve Atmanirbhar Bharat together. It's we, it's not anymore I or this organization, that organization. It's a collective, how we join hands to build that up with private and public sector together. In my view, this is most critical for our country to drive on this path and create ecosystem around it. From Dell's perspective, we have been manufacturing in the country, which is again very, very important from the investment standpoint. We started this activity in 2007. We have a factory in Chennai, Premadur. And for last 14 years, we have been manufacturing our products, which are IT products out there. We have the largest force outside of US in the country. We have gone for the PLI, which is a very good initiative, I would say. After the success of telecom, bringing in a lot of products here, the PLI has been extended to IT, and we are the only leading brand. We have kind of, worked on that and applied for it. So in my sense, in my view, this is a forward-looking, step to drive this. COVID has taught us that together we can do, instead of reinventing the wheels, if we can, we can depend on each other from global perspective to fast track some of the development. That would be very, very important, and we'll be happy. We have programs to work closely with the government. Defense is a critical sector for us. So we'll be more than happy to collaborate from Dell perspective in increasing the knowledge base in the country, creating the skill set for right digitization, and may this be a huge success and take our economy much ahead. Thank you.
Dear Chairman, my second question to you. You are a very senior administrator. Last 2 years, we have seen the kind of changes that Ministry of Defense undertaken. The year 2021 is very important for your ministry on many accounts. One, it secured the highest budget allocation, and two is ongoing reforms. Sir, how significant is it for the defense sector and its ecosystem?
See, defense is a monopsony. You only have one buyer, that is the government, that's the military. And okay, you can club the exports there, but effectively, even there also you can only sell it to a government. So it's very important that the supply side is supported by the demand side, and the demand is only going to come in from the government. So few things that have happened. Yes, I agree with the fact that the budget allocation has been increased, and this budget allocation also has now been optimally allocated for capital procurement. And within capital procurement, a particular percentage has actually been earmarked for domestic industry. And within the percentage earmarked for domestic industry, a part of it has also been earmarked for private sector. And within private sector, a part of it has been earmarked for MSMEs and startups. So it's almost like a multi-tiered structure that we are looking at. And obviously, when you're looking at creating a defense military industrial complex, it has to be a combination of public sector and private sector. Now, importantly, a lot of people actually look at least the Western world or the foreign media looks at Atmanirbharta as some kind of a self-protectionist measure. But I'd like to tell you that it's not the idea and the intention is not to close ourselves. It's actually to open our economy up, and the idea is to create an integrated system in which the country starts playing a role in designing various platforms and systems. I think the core of Atmanirbharta lies in, I can say the word, the devil lies in the design. Now you might have seen a vaccine that has the design lying within the country. It's very easily possible for India to give it to multiple players and create an economy around it, or create a production system around it. But if the design does not lie within the country, then we'll always be dependent on, as somebody mentioned, basically manufacturing technologies. And that's not the way you are going to create a manufacturing ecosystem. So the whole idea was to, allow our private and public sector players to start creating designs, start investing in designs,
Okay.
and that is how create an ecosystem in which both public sector and private sector collaborate. I can also tell you one thing, that it's always going to be a continuous process. In India, the defense economy used to be completely the mainstay of our economy used to be public sector, and you can see many of the public sector players in this forum today. But over the last 20 years, in 2001, defense sector was opened for private sector. Now you have more than 500 private companies which have actually taken the defense manufacturing license, and they are producing the entire range of equipment from air systems to land systems to naval systems to electronics to missiles. And there are players both in public and private sector which are playing a huge role. And I think the whole idea is to create proper supply chains within the country. Now we have more than 20,000 MSMEs which actually have a part of the supply chains that have been created. And now over the last few years, startups have also started to come into the defense sector. And we have a program called as Innovations for Defense Excellence. I also happen to be one of the managers of that program, if I may use that word. And that program has also brought in significant interest coming in from the startups. We have startups which are collaborating with our defense establishment and producing futuristic products and technologies. So all this ultimately is going to create a vibrant and dynamic manufacturing ecosystem. It's not going to happen in a day, but I'm sure foundations are now being laid, and the results of it are palpable. I can tell you last year was actually a very bad year for everybody. I mean, honestly, we lost a complete year because of the pandemic. We had first 3 quarters completely wiped out. But because of the kind of efforts which are put in, still the production figures of our domestic defense industry at least did not go down. I mean, that goes to show that, some players went down, some players went up, and net, you are able to produce actually more than what you were doing in earlier years. This year again is going to be a huge challenge, but I think with all these steps being taken in, I'm sure we are marching ahead and looking forward to creating a dynamic manufacturing and design ecosystem for our country in defense sector.
Over to Sanjay Chawla. Let's have some serious questions. Since inception in 1954, the DGAQS, Aeronautical Quality Assurance, has acquired necessary strength and has grown into an active quality assurance regulatory authority in the field of military aircraft related to stores for the services and paramilitary agencies in the country. However, The future role of public and private sectors in the supply of aeronautical stores is bound to grow. How do you see the QA function in general, Mr. Sanjay Chawla? Over to you.
Yeah, you see, DGAQA being a regulatory body in military aviation, we have moved from product-based inspection to the system-based quality management system concept, QMS concept, which is followed in the major world companies. And in that sense, we have developed our own documentation, which we call AFQMS, Approval of Firm and Quality Management System. We don't believe in repeating things and carrying out repetitive jobs. And in that sense, we are auditing and examining the quality management system of the prospective manufacturers and approve their inspection personnel down from the shop floor level to the head of the quality level, thereby and carrying out critical stage inspections rather than doing everything ourselves. We approve the personnel through the system approach, carry out audits, spot checks. So with this, we are able to manage with our minimum resources and provide critical quality assurance coverage at all our field establishments. Presently, we are located at 45 establishments all over HAL, BEL, BDL, Midani, DRDO labs, ordnance factories. So this concept has been now recently updated under the Atmanirbhar project based on the aerospace standard AS 9100 and ISO 9001 models. And we are also coordinating with our counterparts, international counterparts, with our agencies in US, DCMA, UK, MA. This model has helped us in achieving the quality assurance in the modern concept.
Okay.
Furthermore, we are also encouraging third-party inspection systems, TPIs, wherein the defense PSUs, when they are outsourcing from MSME and private firms, they can utilize these TPIs for carrying out inspection for those outsourced products, rather than each and every store being inspected by the PSU quality control department at the vendor end. So these are some of the things which in the long way will help us in this Make India and Atmanirbhar mission.
Thank you, Mr. Sanjay Chawla. Over to Mr. M.V. Rajshekhar. Sir, Ministry of Defense thinks you are a global organization. Your core businesses are in defense and airspace, mining and construction, rail and metro, and international businesses. You have a sizable share in the export market with more than 1,200 units of mining and construction equipment to almost 68 countries. Being India's leading defense equipment manufacturer, what has been your experience in exports for other core businesses? If you can, please.
Yeah, first, maybe a small word about mining construction exports. So we are quite strong in mining construction because BEML started with mining and construction. We were basically Bharat Earthmovers Limited, now BEML Limited. So therefore, we were very strong with the dozers, the excavators, the dumpers. So therefore, we could successfully export around 68 countries across the globe. And quite a big chunk we made. And this year we exported to Bangladesh. And now this year, we'll be exporting around 200 crores worth of equipments to Cameroon. It's a big order. So mostly it's going on in mining and construction. So what's happening in the other business sectors, particularly rail and metro? Rail and metro, what sort happened is in India, BEML is the first company to produce and design, develop and produce metro cars in India. 50% of all the metro trains running in India were built by BEML in our Bangalore complex here. We are quite strong. But to go abroad and put our trains in the foreign system, they need some more provenness. I mean, we have to prove the systems. We have to prove that the systems have worked for 15 years or 10 years uninterrupted with the good service. Then only you'll be able to go. Therefore, it has not picked up like the mining construction exports, but it will pick up another 4 or 5 years time. Coming to defense also. Defense also same thing. And we are picking up. And this year, I think we are going to get good opportunities in Southeastern countries, particularly Bangladesh and Thailand and all that. We are exploring, particularly the bridge systems. And we are going to set foot there now in the defense sector.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. M.V. Rajshekhar. Over to Rear Admiral Sanjay Chaubey. Congratulations. The year 2021 marks the 50th anniversary of the manufacture of your first digital computer in India. After being indigenously developed at the Bhabha Atomic Research Center in 1969, the computer TDC-12 was made by ECIL in Hyderabad in 1971. ECL top priorities?
I'm reminded of my last chairman's statement, in which he said that when somebody else has started manufacturing a product, you should go out of it. You should be only manufacturing what others are not manufacturing. So that has been the hallmark of ECIL, primarily because the Department of Atomic Energy has been driving newer technologies from the technology denial point of view. Like I said, a lot of changes happening now in the nuclear sector, and new regulations have come in basically because of Fukushima. Many new products have developed. We have launched 3 such products in this year. We are very happy to announce that they have been deployed from the safety considerations in the nuclear power plant. Okay, so that is on the nuclear side. We are fully geared up. But what we are looking at is now the other sectors where we can contribute, primarily because we have developed so much of capability that it can be very judiciously utilized in the aerospace and defense verticals. So like I already mentioned, we are working very closely with all these organizations. I think I must mention here that the model that we follow is that the design should be owned by me. It is then only Atmanirbhar, otherwise it is not Atmanirbhar. A TOT is not Atmanirbhar because somebody has given you something to manufacture, which is a very simple thing. I have to set up a facility, I'll manage. What we are doing is, and this is going on for quite some time, maybe more than 2 decades, we have a technology development council, which is at the base of the Department of Atomic Energy. We have identified currently, as of now, 37 products encompassing various technologies that we need to develop for this country. This has equal share between the nuclear, aerospace, and the defense. So okay. we expect to launch all these products in the next 2 years. Like for simple things, the country today doesn't have an explosive detector, which is very important. You see what happened not very long ago in one of the states there. The explosives came right into the country, causing so many loss of life. Now we are happy to say that based on the ion mobility spectrum technology, which was developed by IGCAR in collaboration with ECIL, we have made explosive detectors which have been already launched and given to the various stakeholders for evaluation. So fundamentally, we are looking at what the country requires, understand that requirement, and take 2 to 3 years to develop it ab initio. And in that, we have said this TDC, which is there, it has members from DRDO, it has members from ISRO, it has members from DAE, BARC. So we take up these technologies, develop it, manufacture and deploy. So that is how we are working. And these 37 technologies or products that we intend, I can share with you the list.
Okay, thank you, Rear Admiral. And over to Commodore Siddharth Mishra. I think congratulations to you for your golden jubilee year of Bharat Dynamics Limited. In the last 50 years, sir, you have evolved as a complete solution provider for the Indian Armed Forces. What changes does Atmanirbhar Bharat bring to your systems, please?
See, as initially I had told that now with Atmanirbhar Bharat policy coming and the entire ecosystem getting developed for Atmanirbharta, we have put in a lot of resources for new technologies. For example, we have started working on 3rd gen anti-tank guided missiles. Now, this 3rd gen anti-tank guided missile, it is this is support from Army. It is to make 2 procedures, and we have been cleared for this project. Our missile is ready. It is going to be fired this month end or maximum first week of June. So 3rd gen, and it is AI based system which we are creating. In addition to this, as soon as my 3rd gen is ready, we are also working for 5th gen anti-tank guided missiles. We have already started working on this, and within 1 to 1.5 years, our 5th gen auto anti-tank guided missiles will also be coming. In addition to these, we have started working with on a DCPP model. Actually, this DCPP concept is based on the philosophy of concurrent engineering with DRDO. With this, what happens when DRDO is developing a technology, we are started converting into an engineering model, and so the manufacturing time reduces. Also, this also reduces the trials time. For example, the development trials and user trials becomes almost same. So one or two equipment gets used for development trials, and balance, since we are only producing these items, it gets into user trial. So the trial time reduces. So with this new concept of when the Atmanirbharta is coming, we are getting involved into this. We are developing new technologies, and we are giving it to not only to Indian Armed Forces, we are also pitching it for export to friendly foreign countries.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Over to Mr. Chetan Prakash Jain. Sir, Central Electronics Limited has developed future-ready new products for defense, railway, and aviation markets. Do you see any possibilities for exporting your products being developed in India?
Of course, well, there is huge market for exports in some of the projects that we are working on. For example, like in defense, we are producing ceramic radomes. We have taken the technology from one of the labs, DMRL of DRDO, and which has reduced the import bill by 50%. The market of ceramic radome presently in India is approximately 2,000 crores. And we also have an export market of roughly the same amount once we develop our capabilities further. Secondly, we have bulletproof jackets, ammonia-based NIJ level 3+ and 3A. Technology has been taken from BARC for lighter version. We're also working on boron carbide material for the preparation of these jackets, which also has huge export potential. We have laser fencing system for border security. Again, technology has been taken from DRDO LASTIC, and we are developing it further. It is a part of comprehensive border security management system, and we see a huge market in at least in our neighboring countries on this. We also have a piezoelectric generator, which is used in Carl Gustaf gun. This material was earlier imported from Italy. Now we are manufacturing it, and we are the lead producer here also, and looking for markets abroad. In aviation sector, we have taken technology from the CSIR's lab, National Aeronautics Lab, which is for measurement of visibility at airports. We are in discussion with Thailand, Nepal, and Nigeria, etc., for exports. Thank you.
So congratulations for your future endeavors. Over to Dr. G. Narayanan. You are a public sector enterprise, commercial arm of Indian Space Research Organization established in 2019, sir. You are under administration control of Department of Space. Your main objective is to scale up industry participation in Indian space programs. What has been your experience so far in meeting the objective in the last 2 years, sir?
Yes, sir. As I had already mentioned, today the demands from for defense preparedness from space has grown multifold. What is required today are the volumes and the focus on advanced research. A stage has come when the magnitude of support has leapfrogged, and the current systems are found highly inadequate to meet these demands, while parallelly pursuing and maintaining the edge that we have in the research and development in space. With this growth in demand, as well as the general awareness of the capabilities of space, there is also an urgent need to move away from the hitherto followed supply-driven model to a more practical demand-driven model as far as the space infrastructure is concerned. The economic benefits that an enhanced activity in space can bring to the nation is also assessed to be huge. It is in this background that the current reforms are in place, and the 3-4 major hurdles. One is to primarily sustain the research and development that required ISRO to be spared from the volume requirements that are coming up. These have been now mandated to us, our company, and we are quickly gearing up to take over the volumes from ISRO and cater to the requirements. Another aspect was the lack of high-tech capital-intensive facilities, assembly, testing, and qualification facilities, which was privy to ISRO and its associates in the past. As I was mentioning, as the volumes increase, it's the ideal playing ground for the private sector to pitch in and contribute their might into that. To bridge this gap, these facilities of ISRO have also been thrown open to the private sector under the new program. With both this and NCIL working in close collaboration with the private sector, I'm sure we will be able to meet the requirements. In this context, we are also working with the private sector on the technology transfer, and we have in the past 6 months, we have facilitated 15 technology transfers from ISRO to the private sector, which will also help the private sector maintain the competitive edge in their respective areas. With all this, I am fully confident that we will be able to gear up and meet all the requirements for the future.
Thank you very much, sir. Over to Major General Mr. Rajan Kochhar. Sir, in your view, which are the areas India needs Atmanirbharta? Why only in defense? Why not in other areas?
It's a very good question, but first I will actually focus on the defense part, because we have a long journey to go. The areas which we have to go for Atmanirbharta, firstly, the aerospace sector, the aviation sector. Today, whatever we are manufacturing in the country, Tejas is an example, it has got almost more than 75% content is non-indigenous. Only 25% content is indigenous. And today, we have got only 30 squadrons of the Indian Air Force against a requirement of 42 squadrons. So the future of warfare or our combat preparedness dictates to us that we focus on removing this deficiency. Tejas 1 Alpha will replace the MiG-21. Tejas 2 will replace the MiG-29. And the advanced medium aircraft, which is subsequently going to be developed in India, is going to replace the Sukhois. So we need to have a concerted program. For your information, I would like to enlighten the audience that Rafale took 30 years to manufacture. Aircraft technology is not very easy to indigenize. I have had a lot of discussions with the senior Indian Air Force officers. So if we take it up now, we will see the results after 20 to 25 years. The second is the surveillance systems. We have the technology in the country today. We can manufacture intrusion systems, and it's not very difficult to manufacture because a number of startups have already come forward to do that.
Okay.
The third area for Atmanirbharta is the manufacture of UAVs and drones. We have seen in the Azerbaijan and Armenia conflict how a drone was able to sort out the T-72 tanks. Therefore, the future wars are going to be fought on the drone technology. And I was very happy to see Idea Forge coming forward and manufacturing a drone in India. The next is a basic equipment of an infantry soldier, which is an assault rifle. Today, we are going to the US for the Segwa rifles. We are buying AKs from Russia. Why can't we do it here? And I'm very happy to learn that in the defense corridor in UP, we have earmarked this as one of our KRAs. And I'm sure, and it's not a very high technology item. And I'm sure with the technology available in the country, we'll be able to manufacture this equipment. And also, I will bring your attention to the Chinese intrusion here, where we felt the requirement of a light tank. We have the technology. We have already done the main battle tank Arjun. Though the indigenous content is still very low as far as this tank is concerned. But if we keep our focus on this, in times to come, the light tank is a requirement now, especially in the mountains. And I believe the government has accepted the requirement of a light tank which the army had actually projected. So this would be another area for Atmanirbharta, where the light tanks will be manufactured in India. And my last is ultralight hepters, the howitzers. We have recently brought from the USA. It is time for us to manufacture in India. The Dhanush artillery gun has been manufactured by us. It is going to replace the Bofors. And certainly we have the technology for the ultralight howitzers also.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a very important question for Mr. Kamal Arora, Senior Director, Government, Dell Technologies. Sir, security is a very serious issue. In today's scenario of intense geopolitical competition, it is extremely critical for the users to remain vigilant for any cyber threats and cyber attacks. How Dell can help in ring fence and make more secure environment and help PSUs for cyber resilience, if you can please.
Sure, thank you. It's a very, very valid question, very, very important question. What we have heard so far is, the technology is behind everything. If you're talking about the precision of strike, the success of, space mission, we talked about, innovations or checking those, ion for bomb detections or explosive detections. I think the artificial intelligence, the machine learning, all these are increasing precision so technology continues to remain at the forefront. Now, with the current geopolitical situation, wherein every country is looking at making that position of number one there are thousands and thousands of cyber attacks, and some are supported, some are developed by not so very active national activities. But I think these guys are trying to do that cyber attack every hour. Now, it is a very, very uphill task for anyone to be 100% ring fence that there is not going to be any cyber attack. Cyber attacks will be there. What is most important is to ensure that vulnerability is absolutely minimal, dismal. And the second most important thing is, in case this happens, in case this comes to any organization, and defense being a very, very important organization, how quickly the business can be, or the operations can be restored the moment it is detected. That's most important. The resiliency in that is to be built in all the things which we are doing, which we are thinking. Now, as Dell, we can help to do these vulnerability assessment tests. We can help develop the skill sets and PSUs and organizations who are providing these services and build up that as a part of the overall systems or subsystem which we are creating. This will help us to deploy these at the defense establishments. In products, there are multiple critical things which are to be looked at. For example, silicon root of trust, wherein it's important to know that if there is any bug sitting in the system, if there is any communication happening which is not known to the user, etc. All those things, in addition to for example, in the network, which is communicating. A network could be proprietary network, it could be an open network, which can be on which the operating systems can be developed and put up by local. So PSUs can have, for example, their own operating system sitting on the hardware, so hardware becomes a commodity on which the encrypted OS can be developed and implemented by by the PSUs, and that become very secure network, very secure network. On top of that, you create a system to create the data backup, which can ensure the copies are intact. And many in the country, we are already deployed and mission critical. I can't name those, but there are not many India mission critical applications where these systems have been already deployed to provide that resilience. Okay. In addition to this, what we can do is we can help defense to develop their private cloud using local expertise. Now that helps both innovation as well to get the load over there on the clouds and create the speed which is required and the security which is required to operate these systems. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kamala Arora. Dear Chairman, the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan has given much more boost to defense PSUs and your institutions under the ministry, especially in local to global exports. From ministry point of view, what are your expectations from the defense PSUs in achieving the Atmanirbharta?
See, defense PSUs have been the mainstay of defense production for decades. Of course, the private sector has joined the bandwagon now, and it's a very happy situation that both public sector and private sector play an important role. And we may argue that the public sector always has problems of flexibility and the efficiency, accountability is going to come with the private sector. But sectors like defense, atomic energy, and space would always have to have a strategic control, and to an extent, sometimes this strategic control also necessitates the presence of public sector, because profit cannot always be the motive. I mean, there may be times when you may have to keep those facilities completely idle, which may not be possible with the private sector. But we will have to do it in the public sector because that might be a strategic requirement. So that's why we cannot do away with the presence of the public sector when it comes to defense. But at the same time, it's also important that they are made to understand that they got to be competitive. They cannot produce something which can be just cost plus and has to be procured by in a monopsony by the buyer. And I think that's not the way it can run. So what we have been telling all our public sector is that the part of their sales turnover has to now start coming in from exports. In fact, we have put out a target of 25% of the overall top lines to be coming in from exports. Because when you export, then you have got to be competitive. We got to be competitive on cost. We got to be competitive on quality. You've got to give value for money product to any buyer outside. I think that's been one major important target that has been given to them. At the same time, you might have seen we have also started to disinvest from some of our public sectors. In fact, BEML is slated to be strategically disinvested. So I think we are mindful of the fact that we need to bring in more efficiency, accountability, and flexibility in the operations of our public sector. They have to be more market focused. In fact, one problem which our public sector always had was assured buyers. And when you have assured buyers, you don't look for market. And then you don't look for market, then you don't grow, and then you don't have a vision. And so many of our public sectors have been diversifying. BEML is one example. I think only 20% of their business is from defense. We have another public sector called Midani. I think only 20% of their business comes in from defense. And the idea is for our public sectors to create good product mix, which takes care of defense as well as civilian requirements. And civilian requirements would come in very handy in lean patches, because defense will always have lean patches. So when you have a lean patch, then you look at the civilian market. Important thing, again and again, I think most of the other panelists also expressed this point, is to look at the future market. Defense is a very dynamic proposition. You might think that I've developed the capabilities to develop an artillery gun, but how do you know you require an artillery gun 3 years down the line or 10 years down the line? Because the paradigms of any future warfare are going to be changing, and they are changing. So you need to be knowing what is it that's going to make, what is it that's going to give you a superiority over your adversary. and what is it that you need to design and develop. And I think the design capabilities to an extent in our country were completely housed in DRDO, and all our defense public sector companies were only playing the role of production agencies. I think the time has now come when this has to change. We need to have more investments in R&D, in more investments in design and development capabilities, and more investments, not just in DRDO, investments in R&D coming in from private sector, investments in R&D coming from public sector, and obviously defense being a monopsony to an extent, this got to be supported by the state also. So in the defense production and the export promotion policy that's going to be shortly coming out, we have actually said that we need to now start pushing in money, innovation and R&D money into the public sector, so they just start investing in cutting edge research. Because unless and until you develop technologies and then create platforms around those technologies, obviously you just cannot think of creating a military industrial complex within the country. And we have listed out a lot of areas. Aero engines is one of the important areas where we need to have capabilities. We have been creating air platforms, as one of the speakers mentioned. Tejas is one of our indigenous fighters, but still the engine is not indigenous. And unless you create indigenous aero engines development capabilities, any future development of any air platform is not going to be a complete story. So it's a complete mix of a lot of expectations from the public sector. And I think the principal point would be market focus.
Thank you, Mr. Sanjay. Thank you, Chairman. And over to Mr. Sanjay Chawla. Can you briefly tell us which are major national development projects your DGAQA is presently associated with?
Yeah, as you have rightly brought out, military aviation, as you see, for us, failure is not an option, unlike land systems and all. And in that sense, during the development and design phase, it is very important for us to carry out rigorous testing and evaluation. And in that sense, major projects presently which we are covering, as brought out by ASDP Shri Jalu Sahab also, LCA is one of the major projects. Of course, it has taken 20 years because any store which is being development from the material onwards, system level, subsystem level, it involves rigorous testing and evaluation. And as for that, it takes number of years. Kaveri, we are trying to develop, which is also, for the indigenous engine for our LCA, that is also still attempt is being made. As of now, we are working over it. It is likely to be, developed in this coming future. Those engines we are using for some other applications. A lot of lessons have been learned during this design, evaluation, and testing of these engines. Other major projects where, like DPSU, HAL has developed number of helicopters, ALH being one of them, which has come into production, light utility helicopter, LCH, as also number of missile projects which has been developed and now productionized by BDL, Astra, Helena. In the material side in Midani, number of super alloys, titanium alloys, composite materials which are being developed through various DRDO labs like DMRL and DMSRD and being productionized at Midani, and some of private sector also, particularly aluminum alloys for our LCA and BrahMos project has been successfully developed. These are some of the major areas where we are providing coverage. And as I have brought out, the quality of design is of much more importance. A lot of our thrust is on ensuring that during this design and development phase, we are able to, ensure that whatever the service qualitative requirements are there, those things are being fulfilled, so that we don't get problem in the production phase. And in that sense, we are providing this coverage at all the labs, and now private sector is also coming with the thrust being given by MOD DDP, and we feel that in due course, definitely we'll be achieving our missions towards this Make in India and Atmanirbhar.
Thank you very much, sir. Over to Mr. M.V. Rajshekhar. We hear that you have been expanding the global footprint by building dealership network to strengthen your export market for your products. Can you elaborate on this? And also, how much percentage of components you still import?
Yeah, first I'll talk on the imports. First, I'll talk on the indigenization level. In mining and construction equipments, our indigenization level is above 90%. And some of the products we have at 98%. And the rail products, we are at 95%. In the metros, we are at 65%. That is the least. Because most of the products are developed in Europe. People are finding difficult to develop in India. And the next is the defense products, mobility vehicles. Our independence is above 85%. If you just look at imports, last year our import component percentage was 24%. So previous year was 28%. So 4% reduction has happened. And further this year, we have put up around 378 components on our website under Make2 and also on Citizen portal. So in that already 78 components have already been developed in India. So therefore, in 2 years time, I think we have set up a policy in our company, zero import policy. That's what we are aiming at. And 2 years time for the existing products, I think all the components should be developed in India. So that's our aim.
Thank you, sir. Over to Rear Admiral Sanjay Chaubey, sir. Sir, what has been your experience with the global exports? If you can briefly elaborate.
Yeah, so I'll come to that, but before that, just let me share one experience of imports. See, we are basically the electronics, strategic electronics. We are facing a challenge now, and we have a lot of orders. You've been reading in the papers also. The chip industry is facing a very peculiar problem. Today, the lead time for delivery of very simple chips, the SMTs, for example, the passive components, also the active components, we are talking to the established OEMs of the world, and nobody is willing to supply in less than 54 to 60 weeks. In fact, they are refusing to accept a RFP stating that when I cannot meet your requirement of supplying a component in 24 or 20 to 24 weeks, there is no point in accepting the RFP. We are still 100% dependent on importing chips. And if we are going, we may have a very good design, we may build reliability into our design, but the chips have to come from, the semiconductor has to come from abroad. And if this is the kind of lead times that we are looking at, then we are being held to ransom, actually. You see the case of the automotive industry where they are saying because of the semiconductor components, they are facing a problem. We are facing a much bigger problem in the strategic sector because the components are. So this is one area where we have to focus. The semiconductor lab in Chandigarh, it's in its nascent state. This is one area, definitely a focus is required. And I don't know how, but we need to address this.
Thank you, sir. Commodore Siddharth Mishra, sir. How much percentage of components do you still import, or how much percentage you want to reduce imports?
See, we have two categories of production. One is the items which we manufacture through TOT, which are anti-tank guided missiles, which we got it from Russia. And second one is which we are manufacturing as of indigenous technology, that is from DRDO. When we started the transfer of technology, that time it used to be 60-40, means 60% indigenous component and 40% used to be as per the contract, it will come from abroad. But now in last 5 to 6 years, we have been able to indigenize the component till 90%. So if you see the overall percentage of our indigenous components are almost 90%. If we see all components like ATGM, SAM, torpedoes, and surface to surface missiles. But in addition to this, whatever 10% or 20% we are importing, we have fixed a timeline for ourselves. Next 3 to 4 years, we will be reducing this dependence on manufacturing of components from abroad. But still, there will be some material or some components which we will not be able to manufacture because it is economically not viable. So those leaving those things, all the strategic items which are required to be done will be manufacturing in India, and because we have to become Atmanirbhar in this context.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Over to Mr. Chetan Prakash Jain. Sir, you have signed some MOUs with a renowned organization under Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative. How they are shaping up, sir?
Really good, and we are continuously working on them. As I told in my initial remarks, the basic objective of CEL, Central Electronics Limited formation, was to develop indigenous technologies with the help of government labs and manufacturing products that could make the country Atmanirbhar. In that regard, we have signed MOUs with CSIR, as I told you, a premier research institute in the country. It's an autonomous body under the same ministry. It has 38 national labs all across in various research fields, and also with Delhi Metro Rail Corporation. with the CSIR Institute at Chandigarh, that is a Central Scientific Instrumentation Organization, we are working on strategic products. Similarly, with another CSIR Institute of National Aeronautics Laboratories, we are signed an agreement for Drishti transmissometer systems. And with the Delhi Metro Rail Corporation, we are working on several systems like theft intrusion detection system is one, rail monitoring system is the other, and also on concrete vibration monitoring system. In addition to these MOUs with CSIR Labs and DMRC, we have also signed commercialization license agreement with Defense Laboratories of DRDO and Bhabha Atomic Research Center for missile radomes, body armors, laser fencing system, etc. Out of these, I think missile radomes, laser fencing systems, and Drishti transmissometer systems are ready for commercialization.
Okay, thank you, sir. Over to Dr. G. Narayanan. Sir, in March 2021, you have announced that you are going to invest approximately 10,000 crores over next 5 years as part of your plans to scale up operations. Can you just briefly share with us your plans?
Yes, currently our plans are to increase the volumes. We have already initiated activities to outsource the entire PSLV production through the Indian industries, that is transferring the entire production from ISRO to the Indian industries, for which we expect to select a partner in about 6 to 8 months, and their first vehicle to fly in about 3 years from then. So this will be a major investment that will be coming in the coming years. Then we are also into the activity of being an end-to-end provider in satellite communication. You should be seeing us putting our own satellite in orbit and providing communication services in the coming, at least within the coming 1 year. At present, we are providing satellite communication services using various bands to about 150 customers in the country today. We are also into popularizing the high throughput satellite capacities for various users. Then another major activity that we are doing currently is the looking out for the excess capacities available in the Indian space program and marketing it, and earning valuable foreign exchange through that. In this initiative, I must tell that we have already, the New Space India Limited has already undertaken the launch of 46 satellites in this mode as a utilization of the spare capacity, thereby earning a lot of foreign exchange. Now, we shall shortly be venturing into all other areas of activities also, and all this will entail the kind of expenditure that I had been mentioning earlier too.
Thank you, Dr. Narayan, sir. Over to Major General Rajan Kochhar. Sir, India is open to public-private partnership in defense domain. I just want to check with you, do we have any successful practices in the past, if any, if you can share briefly?
Very good question. This public-private partnerships have been recent phenomena. But the best example which is coming to my mind right now is the Pinaka missile system Mark I. Upgradation of this system from a range of 37.5 kilometers to 47 kilometers was undertaken by Tata Power Company and Larsen & Toubro. And the transporters were manufactured by BEML. So this is an example where an equipment which was designed by DRDO, very old equipment, and recently upgraded, and very effective in warfare, and where the private and the public sector came together and actually made it a success story. Then we have these in naval shipyard of Hindustan Naval Shipyard, in collaboration with the South Korean firm, the warships are being manufactured. This is another recent, about 2 years back, this process started. This is also a good example where the private and the public sector have come together. There are other examples, Bharat Forge, Mahindra and Mahindra, L&T, which are also there, where the private and the public partnerships have fructified. We would like to have more examples coming now, with the government actually open to a public and a private partnership model.
Okay.
And especially in the DAP 2020, there is a strategic partnership model. This strategic partnership model has to come about now. We need to have OEMs with whom we can raise this strategic partnership model, because it is an idea whose time has come, and we need to build up upon it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Major General. Thank you. Over to Mr. Kamal Arora. Localization is very important for economic growth. Atmanirbharta is the key to the local, drive the local initiative. What is Dell's position on supporting it and working on it? If you can, Mr. Kamal.
I must re-say that, India is the country where we have the largest employee base after US for Dell. Mostly our teams are doing research and development. What we do more here and across the globe is we have a very strong ISV ecosystem, which is, they create very, very specific kind of applications, which are, indigenous platforms. And for example, if the telecom has to use lawful interception, if the surveillance has to be increased, so these applications are homegrown. As Dell Technologies, we work very closely with these companies who are developing these platforms, and we productize it, help them productize it, and run the trials before it is finally available and released as a product. And that can be then fully marketed in India, globally. And we work together. This is a standard kind of program specifically for ISV ecosystem. And that's what I think, we can work with PSUs in terms of developing those products. Mr. Rajshekhar talked about exports, huge exports. We can work in creating those products together, provide our technology and see where it fits within your outcome product, the output product, and that becomes an ingredient of it. And then, that help them take it to the global markets. In addition to that, we can help create high performance computing platforms, which can help reduce the overall innovation time, the way it has been used in the medical fraternity, in the CSIR labs, the CDACs and everything. The overall time for research is compressed so that the output can be really tested and delivered. So we can work in many ways, bringing this global technology know-how and experience expertise to the Indian PSUs and the defense at large. Thank you.
My last question to our chairman today. Sir, IDEX and defense innovation are great ideas to encourage startups. So regarding startups, I just want to know, how do you get their innovations incorporated in major systems and subsystems of the defense? And my supplement question, sir, what are your top priorities for the ministry in this financial year?
You would agree that, the innovations, say about 30 years back, actually were flowing in from defense to the commercial ecosystem. Now you have examples of internet and host of innovations that actually started from defense laboratories and then moved into the commercial space. But if you look at the situation now, last 20 years, you'll realize that there are a lot of innovations which are happening on the other side. And it's now important that the system repays it back to the defense. And I think this is, and you allow innovations to move in from the commercial space into defense. So startups actually have, it's nothing new. I mean, we have been having startups since ages. You have been having entrepreneurs who were developing businesses, creating opportunities, and becoming business leaders. I mean, what was Dhirubhai Ambani? In fact, when he created Reliance, I would say it started as a startup. But now, if you look at it, it's become more structured globally. When you look at the startup, there's a way this is done, and India is one of the a leading startup ecosystem in the world, possibly the second largest startup ecosystem in the world. And there are a lot of startups which have grown in size, shape, and business revenues. Every year you hear of unicorns. In fact, last year itself saw many unicorns coming in from India. In fact, a lot of our foreign direct investment that's coming in is also coming into the startup space. So there was this thought process in the Defense Ministry about 3 years back that we need to create a structure which could connect the startups to the defense establishment. And that's how this whole idea of Innovations for Defense Excellence, IDEX, was born. And IDEX was launched by Honorable Prime Minister in Def Expo in 2018. It's about 3 years now. And with that, we created Defense Innovation Organization. I happen to be the Chief Executive Officer of that organization. And the idea was that through Defense Innovation Organization and IDEX, we will allow startups opportunities to look into the defense spectrum. And very happy to tell you now we are close to 3 years. We have run various rounds of what we call as challenges. We call it Defense India Startup Challenge. As part of that, multiple problems have been thrown in. Startups have offered their solutions. They have been picked. They go through this entire process of co-creation and co-development. And when we work with a startup, it's a very different process. It's not as if you're working with a vendor. They work with us as a co-developer, and the process is open innovation. So a lot of iterations happen. And in defense, because the products have to be military grade, it takes time for us to get these products cleared, tested, trialed. So this entire process is currently being facilitated with the help of IDEX. And a lot of startups have now come in, and that is what we got the confidence now that this year we are going to be buying the defense acquisition is going to be buying 1,000 crore worth products and equipments and items created through the IDEX process from the startups, and they are working in fairly futuristic areas. Some of them are developing active protection systems for the tanks. Some of them are creating see-through armor for various military vehicles that we have. On the air side also, we have a lot of companies which are doing UAVs, their payloads. So it's an entire range of products now which are being developed with the help of startups. And so a lot of energy is now palpable, and we got to leverage it to create a pipeline of investments coming in from the startups into the defense system. And I think that also helps our cause in terms of bringing in investments in R&D in the private sector, because that's been one of our major drawbacks when it came to the R&D efforts. Coming to what are our priorities for this year, obviously to consolidate the gains that we have achieved. This again is not going to be an easy year. The year has again started, the financial year has again started with the pandemic raging on in our country. All our companies, we have the two CMDs here, and our companies are impacted. Yesterday itself, we had the Honorable Raksha Mantri reviewing all the companies, and we had to tell him that yes, we are impacted. We have lost many lives. We have lost man hours. Our entire supply chain is impacted. So I think we'll have to take time to repair all that and address some of these important issues, but keep focus on some of the gains that we have achieved. And I'm sure with the defense production and the export promotion policy coming in, with the ordnance factories getting corporatized during this year, the efficiency gains and growth path that we have laid out for our defense public sector companies and the new energy that is seen in the private sector. It's all going to help us create a roadmap for the future. It's not going to be easy. It's only a beginning being made, but I'm sure we'll have to put the past behind and look at the future.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. My last question to Mr. Sanjay Chawla. The quality assurance is undergoing a big transformation across the industries. How significant is your participation in design and development projects undertaken by the DRDO labs, ordnance factories, defense PSUs, and private firms? Briefly, sir, if you can.
Yeah, as I brought out, you see, design and development is the most critical phase in military aviation. And in that sense, we have to carry out rigorous testing, evaluation at component level, subsystem level, system level, complete air systems, which requires years of testing and evaluation. And we bring out critical inputs we give based on those inspection and test evaluation so as to have the overall optimal design for that particular system. In that sense, we are providing complete hand-holding and give full support to the, all the stakeholders, be the designer, the production agency, the user agencies. And since we are resident in all the defense PSUs or DRDO labs or ordnance factories, so we work as a cohesive team along with other stakeholders, be it the user reps, be it the MSME or the outsourced vendors. So in that sense, we are giving full support and give almost 24-hour coverage with regards to quality assurance. And as a team, we work together in achieving this. So some of the major projects like which we have recently covered, like LCA is a major example, Rustam UAV, UCAVs, missile projects, which is also now looking for export potential in that sense. And we are also moving from, as I brought out, from inspection to a quality assurance concept so as to avoid any repetition of activities. And I assure, in my concluding remarks that we assure the industry and the designers of our full support so as to have this Make in India as the success story. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. So over to Mr. M.V. Rajshekhar.
So last year taught us how to fight, how to overcome the tough situations. Otherwise, we would not have learned. The COVID situation has taught us that. So presently, as Sir explained, the situation is very tough right now. But internally, because what lessons we learned last year, we have some confidence. We are going to overcome. That the positiveness is there in our minds. We will overcome. So the priority is, as I told you, 200 crores of exports we have to make. And then yesterday, the public-private partnership, one equipment we rolled out yesterday successfully with design was from R&D engineers of DRDO. Equipment is ours, and the system was integrated by 3 private companies. Yesterday, we rolled out their equipment. It mechanically marks the complete minefield. 1 kilometer it does in 1 hour. Otherwise, normally it is taking 1 day for that. So we are putting for trials. So these equipments and along with exports and several equipment orders we got. Suddenly last 2-3 years we didn't get orders, but last year there were a lot of orders we got in the end of year, and we have to execute all the orders and ensure that our armed forces are given all the equipments properly in time at the border forces. That's our main aim this year.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
The department has set up a very challenging task. We are now looking at how to gear up the rural medical health infrastructure. And we are already working on that with the help of Bhabha Atomic Research Center. The requirement of cancer treatment has come up as a challenge. We are looking at radiation therapy equipment and patient monitoring systems in large numbers. So these are the things, suddenly the medical vertical, which we had in a very small way, is set to grow. We have already developed the products. It is under regulatory inspections. We have to reach out to rural India. That is the biggest challenge. That has been set as the main target for us. Of course, the MOU target which the Department of Public Enterprise has set for achieving the other targets will be there. The challenge will be to see that the country achieves self-sufficiency in medical and healthcare. So that is what we are looking at, and I hope we will be able to stand up to the aspirations of this nation in this regard.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
This year, our major priority is towards the export. In fact, now since last 2 years, MOD has given a lot of impetus on export of weapon system. It never used to be like that. So CCS has given approval for export of Akash weapon system to 9 countries. We are seriously looking in these countries. We have got a lot of lead also. So we are working for this. Second major issue is that R&D work to be completed for new designs. So our third generation weapons ATGM has to be productionized this year. In addition to this, we have recently started working on weaponization of drones. See, till now, whatever weapons we were manufacturing, they used to be fired from either from land or from aircraft. It was not a small ones from where which can use for drones. We have recently already designed this, and by next month, we are planning to start user trials for this weaponization of drones. So these are the 3 major areas which we are looking this year.
Over to Mr. Chetan Prakash Jain.
We are focusing on developing our strategy for global exports also. We are focusing on certain exclusive products which are developed by CEL, like ceramic radomes for our various missile systems, bulletproof jackets, then laser fencing system for border security under comprehensive border management system. Then we have Drishti transmassometer system. And we also have trials going on for new generation railway signaling system across few zonal railways and solar projects. These projects have the potential to further reduce our import bill and to earn substantial foreign exchange. We are confident to be, as our chairman of the panel discussion today said, we are confident to be competitive both in terms of price and quality in the foreign market. We're also looking for export of solar projects where the funding is secured by multilateral or bilateral funding agencies such as World Bank or ADB, etc. We just recently have won a contract for a solar project with Nepal government. We are in process of identifying local partners or agents, what we call as channel partners, who are likely to facilitate our entry in target countries. But let me admit here, we are still taking baby steps in this regard.
Thank you, sir.
Our first priority will be to rope in a partner for the PSLV production this year. We will also see one of our birds up in the sky and providing services this year. We also expect a very clear clarity on 2 more satellites to be put up in the immediate succeeding months after the current financial year. We are also gearing ourselves to meet the needs of the strategic users in the country. Now that the program has moved more from a government-driven civilian program to a commercial as well as defense-driven program, volumes are there. So we will be working in close association with the industries to meet the requisite volumes that is called for. And also our mandate today, the enhanced mandate today, what we have encompasses end-to-end activities in space, and we will be venturing into the entire areas of space activities that's called for by the users. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Right now, we are having startups in sensor and imaging systems, drones. Netra is a automatic aerial vehicle, electronic and optic systems. But I would like to have startups for the armed forces in the emerging fields of technology, where the future warfare is going to be fought. And that is in cyber, space, and surveillance. So the type of technologies which need to be addressed are artificial intelligence, cyber technology, quantum computing, big data analytics, and robotics. This kind of a technological platform is required because we have seen how China has actually developed its cyber capability and its communication capability to jam our systems. We also have to come about kind of a revolution in our own technology upgradation. And for that, startups are going to play a very important role. And lastly, we also need to think on information and design highways. As Mr. Sanjay Jaju has rightly brought out, design is an area where we need to actually focus on. And these information and design highways must be accessible to some of the private sectors also, so that they can put their minds into it and actually develop system in these technologies what I have mentioned.
Thank you, sir.
The foremost thing is, how do we enable the adoption of new normal, and which will push the remote connectivity, remote working, not only for private sector, also for the government sector, and make it secured completely. That's one thing. That the digital transformation has already kind of preponed a lot of investment by the private organization and government organization, and we have seen the benefit of that. In such a severe situation, the connectivity is still there. The DBTs, direct benefit transfers are happening, the monitoring of situations out there. But I think over and above, Mr. Sanjay talked about the startups in India. And that is the core of creating the IP in the country. Now, as Dell Technology, we work very, very closely with these software application developers, companies, these are generally startups, but there are certain established companies in the domain. And India being the software hub, they are developing products on various fronts. Major General Rajan talked about the cyber. It's a very, very critical subject. We definitely need to have answers. There are solutions available which need to be augmented, tested for the environment, and quickly deployed. Those developments can be fast-tracked, run, simulations, etc. Space is a critical subject where we are taking a lot of data coming in from the good work being done by our space agencies, ISRO and all, right? So all that data is of much use for our various programs. That data is critical to us. How to ensure collecting that, making it secure, transmitting it, making it usable. Using artificial engines on that, we can definitely enable that. Surveillance is the third subject we talked about. I think there are a lot of things which can be done on that, and there had been a very good example which government keep talking about, that these artificial intelligence surveillance are helping in more collections, finding out the frauds which are happening in tax filing and so on and so forth. I think these are certain aspects which are going to help from a technological standpoint, and we are there to have hand in hand in terms of getting it developed in the country, for our country and for growth. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. With this, I conclude today's panel discussion, Mission Atmanirbhar Bharat, enhancing India's indigenous capabilities in defense, space, and atomic energy, part of the second edition of National PSU Virtual Summit 2021. On behalf of ET government, I sincerely thank our guest panelists.
Thank you everyone for sharing your rich knowledge on this platform. Friends, a gentle reminder to share all your learnings with people on social media by using the hashtag ETPSU. Stay connected for more such insightful content.